Industry insiders say there has been a shift in travel trends among foreign visitors to Korea post-pandemic. So what are the new preferences of travelers to Korea? And is Korea's tourism back on track? Also, what has been recommended for those in search of unique cultural experiences? Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sunhee. Today we explore travel trends among foreign travelers to Korea post-pandemic. For this, I have Kwon Soa with me in the studio. So welcome back.
Hello, Sunny.
I also have Joel Bennett, YouTuber, of course. Joel, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you.
Right. So let's start off with you then. Is tourism back on track here in South Korea?
Yes and no, Sunny. The tourism sector has definitely recovered recently, but not to pre-pandemic levels. A little over 11 million foreign tourist arrivals were recorded in 2023, a 245% jump from the year before, according to the Korea Tourism Organization. That's a rebound to 63% of what we saw before COVID-19 in 2019, when some 17.5 million foreign tourists made a trip to Korea. This is due to a slow recovery in the number of Chinese tourist arrivals, which used to make up a large portion of Korea's tourism. Despite the lifting of China's travel restrictions, a shift from group tourists to individual tourists, China's economic downturn, as well as Japan's weak yen that turns Chinese travelers to Japan rather than Korea, are attributed to the slow recovery. But elsewhere in the world, it's looking a little better. The United Nations World Tourism Organization, in fact, expects international tourism to get on track to return to pre-pandemic levels this year, with its data showing 88% of recovery in 2023. Now, Europe last year saw foreign arrivals reach 94% of pre-pandemic levels, Africa 96%, and the Middle East even enjoyed 22% more visits than during the pre-pandemic season or 2019.
Right, I see. So for South Korea, we have a little bit more room for improvement then with regard to tourism. Joel, where does Korea stand on the list of countries that foreign visitors wish to visit? And what do you suppose has been the impact of K-content on K-tourism, if you will, Joel?
Gosh, I mean, to start with, Korea has to be one of the top countries that foreigners and people want to visit around the world. I think, you know, we're talking about kind of K-content, K-pop, K-dramas, you know, things like Parasite, movies that are coming out, BTS, Squid Games, even in the last 5 years, it's put Korea on the map. I think about kind of growing up in the UK, and 20 years ago when I was a teenager, I didn't have access to understand anything about kind of Korea. I barely knew where Korea was. And I think about kind of, recently I went back to London, and people in the street, they're talking about Squid Game, they're talking about Parasite, they're talking about BTS, there's Korean restaurants that are open, and it's absolutely massive. And I think what that gives people is the ability to bring Korea to the other side of the world and bring it into their homes through kind of, especially through, you know, Parasite, you know, these kind of storytelling. It kind of gives a real insight into Korean culture, and people kind of, they love that, and they get a relationship with it, and because of that, people want to come to Korea. Definitely.
Right, indeed. The narrative has served us quite well, the narrative there. So where do most of Korea's foreign visitors come from, and what do they enjoy doing here?
Well, I earlier mentioned the drop in the number of Chinese tourists to Korea. So the country accounting for the biggest portion of foreign arrivals as of latest is Japan. When we look at the total year 2023, some 2.2 million Japanese tourists came over to South Korea, followed by around 2 million from China. Placed third are Americans at close to 1.1 million, and arrivals travels from Taiwan and Vietnam were in the top 5 as well. Now, if we take a look at the next graph here, it shows the increase in travelers' expenditures from just before the pandemic and last year. Americans opened their wallets more than any other tourists, accounting for almost 20% of foreign tourism spending, up from 6% in 2019, and that's by almost 14%. Increases by 7.7% and 5.7% were seen from Japanese and Taiwanese visitors, and also a slight upward change from British and Thai tourists. Now, Chinese inbound travelers used to make up 66.5% of spending in 2019. So definitely a big shift in Korea's tourism sector. And along with a diversification in nationalities among travelers, there is also a shift in what tourists enjoy in Korea. While department store and duty-free shopping is not as popular as years ago, typical Korean experiences that were not possible during group tours, like going to singing rooms and unmanned photo booths, are in trend. Also, in the capital's Seoul, where more than 70% of spending occurs, Seongsu-dong, Yeouido, and Hannam-dong are locations gaining a lot of popularity. Trips to the southern port city of Busan have also increased, as it's a must-visit place for BTS fans. And speaking of BTS, K-Wave experience activities are also on the to-do list of many tourists.
Good to know. So I understand that travel trends are also very much affected by the nationality of our travelers to the country, that is.
Exactly. Korean travel platform Trip looked into data from January to October last year, which showed the consumption trend by nation, or maybe I should say group of nations, when traveling to Korea. So these were categorized into Taiwan, Japan, and Western countries and Singapore. So Western countries and Singapore being one category. Taiwanese visitors were found to have spent a lot on renting clothes, such as Korea's traditional attire, hanbok, or Korean-style school uniforms that they would wear and walk around traditional places or amusement parks and take memorable photos. K-food was also popular among Taiwanese visitors, which included delivery services, also very interesting. And another interesting preference was noted in the beauty sector, being personal color diagnosis. For Japanese tourists, K-food accounted for 40% of spending. Kimchi dishes and soy sauce marinated crab, or 간장게장 in Korean, are especially favored. And behind food was, again, rental services for clothing, beauty clinics, hair and beauty salons, and that including semi-permanent makeup, skin treatments, etc. Finally, the keyword for travelers from Western countries and Singapore was hair salons, making up 60% of expenditures. So that really seems to be a must-do course when being in Korea for them. And money was also largely spent at beauty salons and beauty clinics for K-Wave activities and dining. And in the K-Wave category, it was products like concerts and visits to filming locations, as well as tickets for K-pop TV shows.
Right. And going back to K-food, Joel, now chicken, it appears to be a very popular menu among foreign visitors here. If you could add one particular food to the list of K-foods available, what would you add?
Oh, just one food.
Right, one, two,
gosh.
perhaps.
I mean, this is the issue, because Korea is such a food culture. It's like, how can you just choose one? But I'll tell you about an experience I had in Jeju a couple of years ago. I grew up in the UK, and I didn't eat a lot of fish growing up. Maybe fish and chips occasionally, but it's very different. It's fried, it's battered, you know, it's a very different vibe. And I had this experience where I was able to go out on a boat and fish. And I'd never done fishing before. And we caught some fish, and afterwards the 사장님 kind of cut it up for us, and with a bit of chili sauce and a bit of samjang, and we just ate in that moment. It's called hue. So
raw fish.
Sliced raw fish, and it was life-changing. And so I would love to recommend for anyone kind of coming to Korea, if you're a foodie, get out to the coast and eat some hue.
Is there a particular season that we need to keep in mind? Should we be doing that in the winter or in the summer?
So yeah, so depending on where you're going to do it, I think that is a factor. I've heard that in different times of the year, it's on season, off season. can't remember exactly which is which, but I go down in the summer and love to be.
And that's been quite an experience.
Yeah.
For foreign travelers to Korea who are not too fond of spicy food, is there something you'd like to recommend?
Oh gosh.
Apart from kimbap.
Kimbap.
I was going to say apart from kimbap. It's a very popular dish.
So something that I've been eating a lot over the winter is komtang. And it's got this kind of, especially if I eat a lot of spicy food, so every now and again, especially for lunch, I need something kind of warm, a nice soup, and so I'll have like a Hanu komtang.
Right, beef stew.
Beef stew, thank you. I didn't know what that was in English.
Right, komtang, they would call it so. That's also quite popular among the foreign travelers here as well, right?
Right, yeah, I would assume so. I mean, it's phenomenal.
It was actually my dinner menu yesterday.
Hey.
It's very popular in the winter, especially. Joel, what would you recommend for short-term travelers, perhaps in search of unique cultural experiences? I understand it's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unique cultural experience here in Korea. Obviously, we were talking a little bit earlier about kind of K content, and I think we see a lot of this kind of Korean culture that has been put in the limelight. I had this, so me and one of my best friends, Dan and I, we run a YouTube channel, and we had this experience last year where we went to, I think it was Namwon, and I'd never been before, a very small kind of village down in the south of Korea, and we did something called otchil, which is...
Haven't tried it.
You haven't tried it? But it's the process, the Korean traditional process of lacquering. And so you kind of making these wooden products, whether it's cup, plates, and beautiful kind of stuff like that. And we had this just this amazing kind of experience of just lacquering these products, and it was really special, and it was really unique. And as we were talking to the people who in the kind of the local area, and also the people who create these products, it was very, very special. And the artistry helped for me personally, helped me understand kind of deeper an aspect of Korean culture. So that would be something that, if you can get down to Namwon, do try.
If you could, supposing we had just one day to spend in the capital city, then is there something we can do here that's a bit more cultural?
Just in Seoul?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, I mean, there's so many things to do.
Could perhaps visit the palace grounds, right, Soa? That would be quite popular.
That'd be good. I mean, I see a lot of foreigners, they like to put on the hanbok, and to wear the kind of Korean traditional dress. So that's something that
Have you tried it?
I have tried it. So at first I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, oh gosh, like I'm not the kind of person to dress up. And I did it. It's just a really amazing experience. I really recommend it.
Right, I'm sure. So could you share with us some travel tips now as outlined by our Culture Ministry?
Sure. An extension of last year, this year, 2024, has also been designated as the Visit Korea Year, which is a promotional campaign aimed at attracting more visitors and integrate all kinds of interests and benefits for tourists in Korea. Among 10 major projects is the K-Culture Travel Events 100 program, under which tourism products have been developed that involve Korean culture, arts, contents, games, sports, and food in various regions across the country. People that plan to visit Korea this year may want to check the events happening during specific months or seasons. From April through October, major K-culture events take place, such as a pop-up store at the Hiker Ground Tourism Center in Seoul, or K-pop dance events down in the south in Jeonju and Gyeongju. For K-beauty fans, the month of June offers a Korea Beauty Festival. July will be the month of e-sport festivals and competitions, and in October, a huge K-Wave festival is in preparation. And a so-called Korea bucket list program is slated for September through November, and that's expected to attract foreigners even after the summer holiday peak season, as some 10,000 tourists will be picked to experience all kinds of activities they always wanted to do in Korea. Special welcoming events during Japan's Golden Week in April and China's National Day holiday in September are also in plans. For visitors that are currently in Korea, the Korea Grand Sale is running until tomorrow, Thursday. And meanwhile, I also want to mention that the Korea Tourism Organization's YouTube channel, Imagine Your Korea, just reached over 1 million subscribers last week. And that is significant because with that, it became the first country-level tourism organization to receive a Gold Creator Award on the platform. So demonstrating Korea's efforts in trying to, garner more attention on tourism here in the country.
Right, remarkable, I'm sure. Joel, what do you propose then to boost travel beyond Korea's major cities to perhaps its more quaint rural regions?
So I think, as was just said, having YouTube is a great platform, and having YouTube creators to be able to go to these places and have these experiences, then people can kind of have exposure to see what the culture is like outside of Seoul. Because with Seoul, there's kind of this paradoxical issue where it's on the global scale. It's London, it's Paris, it's Tokyo, it's Seoul. It's such a big kind of economically in terms of its cultural influence. People want to come here, which is it's a great issue to have. But what that can sometimes do is it can take away from the places outside of Seoul, the other cities and the other towns, and I think exposure is key. Exposure is key. So whether that's we were talking before about K content. So whether it's in the dramas or it's in the films, the movies, where stories can kind of speak a little bit more about those kind of places.
So film locations could perhaps serve to raise interest in these quaint rural areas of Korea then.
Exactly, yeah.
You mentioned YouTube, Joel. Now,
Yes.
you were on our show, I believe, last year. We were talking about your YouTube channel, Dan and Joel, that's your best friend. And I remember asking you a question about which particular series on your channel garnered a lot of interest from your viewers. Would you like to tell us a bit about that again?
So, are you referring to the kind of taking the old? Yes. So we have a friend of ours, old lady, who collects cardboard, and Dan especially had kind of been building this relationship with her for a few years, and was able to take her for a meal and kind of sit and talk about her story and what what is it like to kind of be in Korea but kind of pick up cardboard. And it was really beautiful, and she kind of shared about how she was from the farmlands and kind of came into the city, and a little bit about her journey, and that was a really special felt like a really unique moment for us, and to be able to tell that story in that way was a real honor, real privilege.
Right. So beyond just information about traveling in Korea, your channel also shares a lot of the human aspects of the country, right? Human stories. So on a more sober note now, it's been found that Korea's returning travel numbers have been retreating. Could you tell us a bit more about this particular phenomenon?
Right. Based on data as of 2022, 90.6% of inbound tourists said they are willing to make a revisit to Korea within 3 years. However, the actual percentage of revisits stands at 45%, lower than 58.4% in 2019. Reason for that, according to experts, is that travelers are satisfied with their first time in Korea, but do not find any new things to enjoy when they would make another trip. And that seems to be reflected, though, in the purpose of people who do make a second or third trip, as the main purpose for their visits seems to be shifting from, for instance, shopping for cosmetics or products advertised by celebrities to K-food. In fact, a survey by Seoul City last year showed that K-food was the primary reason to make a revisit to Korea. And as we have been talking about, we should have more exposure in the movies or K-dramas, so maybe increased exposure of food in these shows on Korean TV, and also movies may help in attracting more foreigners to make more than one visit to Korea.
Right, to come back to the country then. Joel, this is a very general question, but what do you suggest to ensure a more rewarding travel experience here in South Korea?
I mean, to hear these statistics, actually, for me, it's quite surprising because I've lived here 6 years and I feel like I'm still scratching the surface. There's every day there's an opportunity to experience something new here. I really honestly feel that. I was thinking kind of what would be my perfect day if I've got a free day in Korea, and it would be kind of explore one of Korea's coffee shops. The coffee culture here is not just in terms of the taste and the level and the quality, but in terms of the size, whether it's big or small. There's a coffee shop for everyone, and if you spent the next kind of 5 years just exploring coffee shops, there's going to be a new one every day. So that's something that I think is incredibly unique. So I'd start. Is
there a particular neighborhood in which you like the coffee shops there?
There's many. I think there's a lot of places in Seoul, but I live in Yeonnam-dong, and there's a lot of really good coffee shops there. So
small ones.
Small ones and some slightly bigger ones as well. Yeah.
What is it about the Korean coffee shops that appeal to you?
I love kind of just sitting and being. I'm quite a fast-paced kind of person. I'm quite hyperactive. So when I have a coffee, even though it kind of awakens my mind, I like to just sit and be and experience the atmosphere. And I often have this kind of, not argument, but this kind of question with my friends, like, what is more important, the taste of the coffee or the atmosphere of the coffee shop? And I have a friend who's like, the atmosphere is more important, and for me it's probably taste, but if you can get both of those things right, which I think Korea often does in most of its coffee shops, then that's it's so nice to sit and just be.
So you're getting a taste of the actual coffee itself as well as tasting the atmosphere around you.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
I love that you mentioned coffee shops, because I also realized that we have more and more so-called coffee 거리, so coffee streets in the various districts in the capital Seoul. So yeah, I think that could be one more, theme for foreigners to visit Korea in the future.
Yeah.
Right, of course, even beyond the capital city. All right, Joel, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today. And so, as always, thank you very much for your insights.
My pleasure.
Right, well, this coming Friday here in Korea marks the start of a long weekend to commemorate the March 1st Independence Movement Day. So for those of you here who have yet to make plans, perhaps a short trip, cultural trip if you could be an option. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.